Here in this video we will explain how the Renaissance station came to be infested with aliens and actually had an alien hive inside of it. We will also explore how much Weyland Yutani, that corporation, already knew about aliens, how they recovered the alien from the original movie, and how all hell broke loose inside the station, leading it to be abandoned and set on a collision course with the rings of a planet. Let's get to it. Firstly, what was the Renaissance station and the Romulus lab? So the Renaissance was a Weyland Yutani Corporation scientific research space station mainly comprised of two separate modules dubbed as Romulus and Remus. The Remus module was built in the year 2112, whereas the Romulus was built in the year 2131. The Remus module hosted less advanced technology than its Romulus counterpart. The station was equipped with a Mother 9000 computer system and a synthetic science officer named Rook. It is safe to say that the corporation had already known for quite a while about the alien and wanted to study the creature extensively. So we know that the Nostromo from the first movie was suddenly course shifted to investigate LV-426, which was the first smoking gun, to be honest. And it might also be that between the timeline of Prometheus, Covenant and the Cancel Awakening, that Weyland Yutani would have got a hold of some information or data pertaining to these creatures, the Xenomorphs, and it is highly unlikely that they were ignorant of it all. Hence the purpose of the Romulus lab aboard the Renaissance space station, and how it is tied to Weyland Yutani's continued interest in investigating the nature of Xenomorphs. Now, how did a Xenomorph end up in the space station in the first place? So as the Alien Romulus movie started, we saw the Renaissance station picking up a cocoon from space. It is then revealed to us that this is indeed Big Chap, the same Xenomorph that was marooned in space from the Nostromo from the original Alien movie. This shows that Weyland Yutani did in fact know about the Xenomorphs, and maybe Ellen Ripley and her crew in the Nostromo weren't the first to encounter them, especially when we take the prequels into context. The Romulus section with more advanced tech would have been created specifically to experiment on these Xenomorph lifeforms if they ever came across one. And with the beginnings of the movie showing them being in the Zeti Reticuli system just outside of LV-426, this would confirm the fact that Weyland Yutani Corporation didn't just know about them, but were in fact actively searching for the aliens. So this corporation aimed to study the life cycle of the Xenomorph XX121 species in great detail. The research team aboard the Renaissance station relied on Big Chab, the iconic Xenomorph drone retrieved from deep space, believed to be the same one expelled from the USCSS Nostromo decades earlier. Given the original design of the Xenomorph species to have a complete reproductive cycle even in the absence of a queen, the scientists would maybe have theorized that Big Chap might have carried latent eggs or proto-eggs within its physiology, which could be experimented under certain conditions. This hypothesis is centered on the idea that the Xenomorph drones could generate or trigger the creation of eggs without a queen, which is an evolved survival mechanism allowing the species to propagate under extreme isolation. Simultaneously, the Romulus module would have also focused on cutting-edge biotechnological methods to replicate the Xenomorph reproductive process. Under the science officer Rook, the other scientists would have taken cell samples from the cocoon Big Chap and isolating its genetic material. Using advanced bioengineering techniques, they would have eventually cloned and artificially grew facehugger specimens in specialized biopods. The technology employed here would allow them to effectively biologically 3D print the organisms from scratch, manipulating cellular structures and rapidly maturing them to somewhat of an operational status. This process would involve reconstruction of the alien DNA to form new facehuggers, piecing together the exact cellular sequence that would develop into a viable specimen. By controlling certain growth factors, cell differentiation pathways, and metabolic processes, they managed to create quite a lot of these facehuggers, as we can see in the movie, which they subsequently put into cryogenic stasis for further studies in the future. So during the artificial cultivation and study of facehuggers, the scientists aboard the Romulus lab discovered a peculiar black substance within the organisms, a derivative of the infamous black goo, first encountered by Weyland scientists in the earlier Prometheus mission. This black goo was found to play a pivotal role during the facehugger's implantation phase, where it incorporates foreign DNA from the host into developing the xenomorph embryos. They then speculated that it acted as a potent mutagenic agent, responsible for altering and enhancing the DNA of the host, and then developing the organism within it. Recognizing this potential application, the team sought to further refine this substance, codenamed as Compound Z01 or Z01, for their broader research and bioweaponry programs, maybe. The synthesized Z01 pathogen was first tested on a range of laboratory animals, including rats, to determine its effects on non-human subjects. These experiments aimed to understand the goo's mutagenic properties, its ability to rewrite genetic material, and the range of organisms it could affect. The scientists then believed that refining the Z01 pathogen could lead to transforming humans into true spacefaring organisms. But there was an accidental release of a facehugger from a failed cryogenic stasis, or maybe from the awakened big chap, and then chaos would ensue, leading to the engineered facehuggers to break off from the experiments. It is said that the experiments on creation of the facehuggers did in fact wake the big chap from its hibernation, and thus it became active once more and not dormant anymore. The alien would then proceed to cause the deaths of many of the crew members before finally being shot dead by what's left of the station's security forces in a laboratory, and its corpse would then be later found by a group of scavengers coming from the craft called the Corbellan Foe, right above large holes caused by its acid blood. It is also stated that the blood breached the station, killing the remaining crew before Rook manages to seal the station back up. However, before that, the sequence of events would have likely followed this. The facehuggers, now loose within the confines of the station, instinctively sought out hosts among the crew. The first wave of infected hosts fell quickly, and new xenomorphs began to emerge. This causes a chain reaction, as the freshly hatched xenomorph drones rapidly matured and began hunting the remaining crew members. As the drones reproduced and multiplied, they would create a hive, instinctively working to expand their territory using resin secretions and the remains of the dead crew members. Without sufficient manpower to contain the outbreak, the remaining crew retreated, leaving the station's automated systems to handle the infestation. And over time, the xenomorphs consolidated their control over the station, culminating in a fully established hive, which would eventually bring about the arrival of a queen if it was left unchecked. Yeah, as we have seen in the second movie Aliens from 1982, when a population of drones exists in a particular place, they would group up together and create a hive out of resin and dead bodies. This expansion of the hive is instinctual and would have otherwise created a queen sooner or later. The station thus became infested with xenomorphs and then gradually with a hive. It was abandoned and left on a collision course with the planet LV-410's rings. And so 170 days later and 36 hours to impact, the USCSS Corbellan 4 traveled to the Renaissance station to steal hypersleep chambers. This will lead to the events of Alien Romulus and the destruction of the station, as well as the creation of the Offspring and the survival of the Z01 pathogen specimens underway to planet Yavaga with Rain and her synthetic. And that's about it. So if you liked this video, then watch this other one too, and do check out our channel for other dragon, monster, xenomorph and Middle-earth content. We might have things you haven't seen before. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.